Feeling so alive. Summer in the fire. We're gonna thrive. Go, go, go. Shout it out loud. Hear the summer sound. We're a summer loving crowd. Talking Brazil ball. Hello there and welcome to Talking Brazil Ball. It's the Brazilian football podcast talking all things Brasileirão, Serie A and Brazilian football. On this week's show, plenty to ponder as Palmeiras take the lead, 5 points clear, and miserable for Mirassol, who sink to the bottom of the table. All that and much more to come in this week's episode of Talking Brazil Ball. So strap yourselves in for the ride. Enough of that there. Hello there and welcome to Talking Brazil Ball. Another episode comes and goes. It was nearly 2 weeks since I did one. As I said, as I always say, James will join us when he can this week. I've got a cold sore, which is not the best of looks, is it really? But there you go. I was wanting to do this episode a little bit earlier in the week, but I didn't. So we do it on the Thursday, just in time before another round of fixtures. There has been 2 match days since we last spoke because one was midweek, then we had the weekend's fixtures. I think the fixture list does go back to like 1 a week now as well, so it's a little bit easier for the pod, so we'll be able to go and do it once a week from now on for the foreseeable future, and then we just play it by ear and see how it does. Obviously, sometimes we take into account 2 match days, as we're doing in this one. Most of the time, it's just 1. So let's have a look through every single result we've had since we last spoke, which I believe, like I said, was about 2 weeks ago. So here is a full rundown of the results since then. So there was an outlier game on Sunday, the 29th of March, which was Atletico PR 4, Fogo 1, managerless Fogo, I believe they still are. Then round 9, they played again on the 1st of April. Fogo 3, Mirassol 2, and Inter 1, Sao Paulo 1. Thursday, the 2nd of April, then Bahia 3, PR 0, Cruzeiro 3, Vitória 0, Curitiba 1, Vasco 1, Flu 3, Corinthians 1, Chapecoense 0, Galo 4, big win for my boys. Santos 2, Remo 0, and then Friday the 3rd of April was Palmeiras 2, Grêmio 1, and RB Bragantino 3, Flamengo 0, which was an incredible result. 10 men Flamengo ended with. Then we go into this match week, which is a match week that we're looking at in greater detail this time. On Saturday the 4th of April, Sao Paulo 4, Cruzeiro 1. Sunday the 5th, then Curitiba 1, Fluminense 1, Vasco 1, Fogo 2, Chapecoense 1, Vitória 1, Galo 2, PR 1, Galo in a little bit of good form, Flamengo 3, Santos 1, Bahia 1, Palmeiras 2, Corinthians 0, Inter 1, Inter Monday the 6th of April then, Mirassol 0, RB 1, and Grêmio 0, Remo 0. So there you go. All of the fixtures, all the results, should I say, run down. You are up to date. The next match day is on Saturday, the 11th of April. So we'll look back at it probably on the Monday, the 13th, potentially, or the Tuesday. Who knows at this point, but we will run it down. And we are looking then at match day 10, I think it is, now, although I have lost count. And we're looking at my match day, which I picked in my mind this week, was Galo. I wanted to look at my team, and we had that big result at Chapecoense in the midweek. We followed that up with a win over PR, which was another really, really good result. They did lose in the Sudamericana early doors of this morning, did Galo, unfortunately, to América Puerto Cabello of Venezuela. So they lost in Venezuela, unfortunately, in the early rounds, in the early hours of this morning, in the early rounds of the Sudamericana in the group stage, should I say. They're paired with Cienciano of Peru, obviously Academia Puerto Cabello, and Juventud de las Piedras of Uruguay. So there's a bit of a mixed group there for Galo to navigate. It hasn't started the best of in the best of ways for Eduardo Dominguez, but league form looks to be improving slightly. We've 1-2 on the bounce in the Brasileirão, and this also in this game we do have the Young Player of the Round award to give out, so we will give that out momentarily. But yeah, for Galo, really important few days. The big win over Chapecoense, following it up with a win over PR. PR are in good form as well. They've been doing okay. Granted, they have lost the last 2 in the league, but before then, they were doing really, really well. And Odar Hellman was in for my Manager of the Month award, which I will put on the Instagram account. So don't think we will have time to discuss it today, but go ahead to the Instagram account and have a look at our monthly awards, which is Manager of the Month. There is Player of the Month and there is Goal of the Month. So go and have a look at that when I put it up after the pod. But Galo, yeah, I mean, great result for them. Couple, Victor Hugo's goal was a bit scrappy. Scarpa was a brilliant goal. And then Hulimar, half the arrears, a couple of minutes before the 90th minute. It wasn't enough for PR to go on and then get a draw. We ended up winning the game, and it was a much-needed win. And Dominguez is doing okay. He's won more than he's lost. As 5 wins on 4 losses from his 9 games in charge. That's in all competitions. But yeah, really, really good result for us on the weekend, and it builds us into 8th position. It's a couple of points behind PR now, and it starts to look a little bit more rosy. 3 wins in 4 in the league isn't too bad of a form, really, is it? So we're going okay. Up against Cuca next, Santos. So they are in. They're in Sao Paulo, Galo, over the weekend, coming up against former boss Cuca, of course. Santos appointed him not too long ago. It's a merry-go-round, like I said, in Brazil. It always is. This season is no different, but fantastic win. And within this, we'll talk about the Young Player of the Round award now as well.
A bright future ahead for this guy, a young talent of Brazil. How far can he go? It's the Young Player of the Round award.
So how far can this lad go? And it's Victor Hugo. We mentioned him just a moment ago. He has won our Young Player of the Round award for this week. I believe it's his second Young Player of the Round award win of the season. If my mind serves me correctly, I think he won the first Young Player of the Round award of the season. Now, Victor Hugo done okay. Came through the Flamengo ranks, isn't he? Quite, to say he's only 21, he's had an incredible amount of Serie A experience here. Must be over 100, easily over 100 appearances in the Brasileirão since he came through at Flamengo in January of 2022. He's now just signed for Galo. He's new there this season. He spent the time on loan with Santos last season, played 9 games in the Brasileirão that last season. He's already got 2 goals he's already got 3 goals in the Brasileirão already this season from 10 appearances. That's not too bad at all. And I think, people might start to talk about Victor Hugo can play a whole array of positions, obviously usually on the wing, but he can play attacking midfielder. He can even play right down the centre of the pitch other than centre back. He can play defensive midfield. He can play right in the centre. He can play attacking. He can play right midfield. He can play right wing. He can play a whole host of positions. So that will be definitely an attractive trait for some potential suitors. So looking really good. This goal in particular was a little bit scrappy. Like I said, took a deflection, a huge deflection, to be fair, on its way in. But they all count. It's his goal. He took the shot. If you don't take the shot, you don't score a goal. So Victor Hugo is our Young Player of the Round award winner this week, and he's looking really, really good as Gallo do start to rise up the table slightly. Like I said, his stock will rise. He hasn't got too much longer to be eligible for this award. Actually, his birthday is in sort of early mid-May. So he'll turn 22 then, so he won't be eligible for the Young Player of the Round award. Of course, he's always available for the Player of the Round award, isn't he? But this week, it goes to Victor Hugo once again. Well done to him. Well done to my lads, Garlo. They're doing a little bit better now, and we're quite pleased with that, aren't we? Here at the Tonga Brazil Ball HQ. Obviously, James is still supporting Inter as well. They're doing quite well as well. They're improving, so he's happier about that as well. But well done to Victor Hugo, who scoops the award this week.
A bright future ahead for this guy, a young.
Sorry, it finished, hasn't it? Fair enough. There you go. But there you are. So that's the Young Player of the Round award and the Game of the Round award wrapped up now. So we move swiftly and quickly on to the Player of the Round. And to be quite honest, there was no other body to win this, no other player to win this award than this man here. We will introduce him in a second, but when you score as many goals in the game as he did, you're bound to win it. You're bound to win it. So here we go.
Go.
Here we go.
What a performance. 5 stars. He's gotta be player of the round. Who else?
Exactly. Like I said, who else this week? There's some weeks you just think, right, that's him straight off the bat. You don't even really have to look too hard for anybody else. This was one of those weeks. The man in question is Mr. F. Ferreira of Sao Paulo, who scored a hat-trick in the absolute crushing. I've named the episode after this game, really. Cruzeiro crushed in Sao Paulo on Saturday. Absolutely belted. 4-1 in the end. Ferreira got 3 of those 4 goals. Caleri got the opener with a penalty. Ferreira then got a goal. Christian pulled one back for Cruzeiro, and then Ferreira got the last 2 to wrap up a really, really comfortable win for Sao Paulo, who, despite the loss, of course, of Hernan Crespo earlier on in the season, have done well under Super Roger Mercado. Really well, actually, in the 6 games that he's taken charge. He's won 3, drawn 2, and so he's won 3, drawn 1, and lost 2. He's done well. They've done well. Sao Paulo, they've done really well, actually, this season so far in the 10 games. They sit in second position, another 5 points behind Palmeiras. That's not bad, really, to be in and around there. If you look at it in the next sort of 3 to 5 games, you're starting to take note of the table, and you're starting to look, hey, actually, this is where the table is going to look for most of the season. So for Sao Paulo to still be up there would be a real achievement. We're on at Vitória next, so it's a winnable game, although Vitória are doing okay themselves at the moment. But yeah, you'd fancy them to win that, and if they can keep going and going and going, then you don't know what's possible. Roger Mercado is a really, really solid manager at this level, and he's kept up Hernan Crespo's great work. I think there was probably something going on, something said behind the scenes, which led to Hernan Crespo's sacking. But Roger Mercado's taken up the reins, and Sao Paulo haven't really stopped in terms of their good start of the season. It did continue actually yesterday with a Sudamericana win away at Boston River, which is in Uruguay. So that was a really, really, really good win to kick off their Sudamericana campaign. Bobandilla got the winning goal in the second half. So they are paired with O'Higgins of Chile, Boston River, of course, of Uruguay, and Millonarios of Colombia. So we'll wait to see how Sao Paulo do. But Ferreira, we spoke, me and James, about him last season on the pod quite a few times. I think he did win a few Player of the Round awards here and there. Very competent player at this level. You know, the Brazilian man, of course. That was his first goals of the season. All very well taken goals, and well done to him for his, for a hat trick there, and well done to Sao Paulo for their continued great start of the season. Let's see how far they can go under Roger Mercado, and we'll keep a close eye on Ferreira and see how he gets on as the season goes on, of course. But that is the player of the round. So there we are, the player of the round. Well done to Ferreira, well done to Sao Paulo, who, like I said, continue to really motor in the Brasileirão this season under Roger Mercado, doing a fabulous job, as we knew he would. He's a very, like I said, he's a very competent manager at this level. Now, we're going to go into the goal of the round next, of course, and I said Fogo were managerless. They're not actually managerless now, and I don't think they were for the weekend, potentially, because Franklin Carvalho is now the Botafogo manager. He was the assistant manager. I'm not sure. I think it was under Ancelotti from September 2024. So he had a good stint under, as assistant coach. So he was right there under the nose. I think it looks like he's a follower of Arthur Jorge. Maybe he was assistant at Braga as well, and he followed him to Fogo. And he only ended his stint at Fogo as the assistant manager in December. He's now come back and taken up the first team role. So he is the first team coach now, Franklin Carvalho. And fair enough, Portuguese fella. I'm pretty sure he will have come across with Arthur Jorge when Arthur Jorge became manager of Fogo. Obviously famous now. He won the double a couple of years ago, that famous double, which of course Franklin will have been part of as well. So let's wait and see how he gets on. 39-year-old, only just turned 39 as well last week. So yeah, let's wait and see how he gets on. He won his first game in this game, and within it was the goal of the round.
Go, go, go. Jogo poncho. Brazilian football at its best.
Brazilian football at its best indeed. And you know how things change very, very quickly in the Brasileirão. You know it now if you've been listening to the pod since it started. Things just change so quickly. It is sometimes hard to keep up with what's going on. So Franklin Carvalho won his first game in charge away at Vasco in a Rio derby. A great one to win. For Franklin. So there you go. And it is a goal, the second goal that won Fogo the game in this one, which claims the goal of the round award. Vasco were ahead in this one. David got them ahead or just past the hour in the game. Of course, Renato Gaucho obviously I'm going to put it on the Instagram account. He did win our March Manager of the Month, unbeaten, I think, in 4 games, but it hasn't gone to plan in April. They've lost, they've not won in the last 2. A draw with Curitiba, followed by a loss to Fogo. They also drew in the Sudamericana last that was on Tuesday against Barracas Central of Argentina. They are matched with Olimpia of Paraguay, Audax Italiano of Chile, and Barracas Central of Argentina. So let's wait and see how they get on as well. Obviously, Sudamericana, I think Libertadores has potentially started as well now, so we'll check that. But back to this game, back to the Rio Derby on the weekend. It was Matthias Martins who grabbed the goal of the round award with this goal in the 79th minute. Really, really well taken. Long range effort, looped into the top corner. The goalkeeper, Hardim, in the net for Vasco, didn't have a chance with this. Although quite a few, of course, he was a former Watford man, Matthias Martins, still only 22, seems to have been around for a little while, been back in Brazil since July of 2024, little spell at Udinese, which he never actually got on the pitch. He went to Watford. We know the Udinese team is owned by the same people as Watford as well. So Fluminense he started at, and he's back in Brazil since obviously for going on a couple of years now. But a great hit this. There were a couple of really nice goals. Actually, there was a couple of nice goals in the Flamengo game. John Arias scored a nice goal for Palmeiras. There was 1 or 2 nice goals, but for me, this one just pipped it by a smidgen. So, yeah, Matthias Martins wins that one. So congratulations to him, and congratulations to Fogo. Let's see how Franklin gets on in his new role. He knows the club well, like we said. So hopefully that just gives them a little bit of stability, because they haven't been there really. Got pumped by PR a couple of weeks ago. Obviously followed that up with a couple of wins on the bounce against Mirassol and Vasco. They're playing in the Sudamericana tonight, actually, as of recording, against Caracas of Venezuela. It's a home game for Franklin to get his teeth into for the first time. So let's wait and see how they get on there. But Matthias Martins wins the goal of the round. Go and have a look at it if you can. It was an absolute belter. So there you go. There are all the awards given out for this week's pod. We will now just check in with the fixture to come. I will pick my game of the week, and then we will run down the table as we always do. So let's have a look at these fixtures for matchday 11 of the Brasileirão 2026 edition. So it begins on Saturday, the 11th of April. Remo take on Vasco. Vitória host Sao Paulo. Flu and Flamengo. That's a massive game. Mirassol against Bahia. In Sunday the 12th, and Santos, like I said, host Galo. Inter hosts Grêmio. That's another Rio Grande do Sul important derby game. Atletico PR against Chapecoense. Fogo against Curitiba. Corinthians against Palmeiras, which is another enormous derby there, isn't it? And Cruzeiro against RB Bragantino wraps up the match days. So there's a couple of really, really tasty games here, to be quite fair. It has to be one of the derbies, doesn't it? Okay, Inter Grêmio probably takes a little bit of a backseat, but it will be interesting to see how that one plays out. So it's a toss-up between Flu and Fla, or Corinthians against Palmeiras. You know what? I'm going to go with Corinthians against Palmeiras, because Palmeiras obviously flying high at the top. Corinthians have a certain Jesse Lingard playing for them. Of course, he's played a couple of games, hasn't set the world alight, but it'll be interesting to take a bit of a closer look at Corinthians and Corinthians with them having the likes of Jesse Lingard in there as well. So it's a little bit of a feisty game, this one as well. Of course it is. So there might be one or two things to report on. Let's wait and see. I'm sure there'll be a red card or 2 or 3, maybe even 5 in this game. It's a real clash of two teams that do not like one another at all. So it's going to be a feisty one. You are in Sao Paulo on Sunday. So we'll have to keep a close eye on that one, and that will be the game of the week. I think I watched that one as well. To be honest, that will be very, very good, very entertaining on Sunday night, late Sunday night. So that'll be it. But we'll go with that one. So we will just wrap up the table before I leave you for another week. Let's wrap up that now. So in first place is Palmeiras on 25 points. Second, Sao Paulo on 20. Third is Fluminense on 20. Fourth is Flamengo on 17. Fifth, Bahia on 17. Sixth is Atletico PR on 16. Seventh is Curitiba on 15. Eighth, Galo on 14. Ninth, RB Bragantino on 14. 10th is Fogo on 12. 11th is Grêmio on 12. 12th is Vasco on 12. 13th is Inter on 12. 14th is Vitória on 11. 15th is Santos on 10. 16th is Corinthians also on 10. 17th is Chapecoense on 8. 18th is Remo on 7. Cruzeiro 19th place on 7 points. And bottom of the pile, Rafael Gunaez is not having a good time this season. They are bottom of the Palmeiras on 6 points. So there you go. That wraps up another week's pod. In fact, we have to say, just again, the managerial merry-go-round keeps going on and on and on and on and on. And as I was thinking, Corinthians, we just spoke about, they have sacked the manager. Dorival Jr. is no more the manager of Corinthians. It's now Fernando Diniz, who was sacked by Vasco in February. He's back. You know, his illustrious career in Brazilian football continues again with Corinthians in Sao Paulo. He's managed, of course, in Sao Paulo before, and, you know, in Sao Paulo themselves, not in Corinthians. But let's wait and see how he does. Just bounces around teams, doesn't he? Something in me just said, I haven't seen that just until a few seconds ago, but just something said to me, hang on, Corinthians, maybe they've changed managers. And, you know, I'm pretty sure at this point, nearly every single team in the division pretty much has changed the manager. So it's crazy. You know, Chapecoense have also changed the coach. Fabio Matias, who we might remember a couple of years ago, he was sacked last May actually from Juventude. He's back in Brasileirão action with Chapecoense. So let's wait and see how he does. Obviously, you know, pretty much nearly every single team has changed the manager at least once in this season, which is absolutely incredible, really. I think there's only 3 or 4 that haven't, you know. So incredible stuff. I think there's about 6 actually that haven't, but still, we're only 10 games in. It's mad. But that's Brazilian football. So there you go. You enjoy, keep up with it if you can, and you enjoy the week ahead of football. And enjoy it. I'll see you on the next one. Until then, adios.
Talking Brazil ball, we're breaking it down. Bringing the passion from every town. Let the world be filled with love tonight. Sway to the beat.